Passport bros will never not be pathetic to me because they really think that a passport that you can buy for $160 is a form of currency and allows them to just take advantage of any woman around the world. Need I remind you, you are not wanted by any woman anywhere. That's why you have to go to countries that are underprivileged and have low consent laws to try to take their women and take advantage of them. Because let's not be obtuse, you're not there to find a wife or a partner. You're there to find a nanny, a cook, and a maid. You don't look at these women as actual human breathing people. You look at them as commodities for you to buy. You are broke because all of you guys showing this passport I've not seen on a fucking plane. And the fact that you constantly have Black women's names in your mouth saying, we're gonna go. No one wants you. Nobody wants you. There's a reason why you can't find a woman in your own country and you have to go somewhere else to try to bribe women to bring them back as your own slaves.
Who are the passport bros? Well, first of all, I just wanted to make a very quickie video, another passport bro video, because the thing about it is these strags will not let up on TikTok. And for their videos, we got our replies right here waiting for them. But there's different types of passport bros. First of all, the type that I say most of these women are really talking about, those are the passport pookies and ray rays. The passport pookies and ray rays are basically pookies and ray rays who scrap together enough money to get their passport because somebody told them, probably in a barbershop or possibly online somewhere, that it was easy to get inexpensive sex in foreign third world countries or whatnot. And they decided that they were going to get their passports and that they were going to follow behind what the passport bros were doing. The passport bros, however, are not passport pookies and passport ray rays. The passport bros are men who specifically, mostly Black men, but specifically they've decided that they're going to leave the country, that they are going to look for greener pastures, that they're going to find relationships and romance that they never had in this country, and that they were going to most likely get a wife in another country and possibly bring her back to this country if they aren't of the age where it would be easy for them to move abroad permanently. There are also the passport bro expatriate levels. Those are passport bros who have basically retired. They are secure in their earning because they have a pension coming in, and they are going to take their pension. Some of them are leaving this country, America, and they're going abroad. They are marrying abroad, just like I've showed you a couple of passport bro expatriates who've moved to places like Philippines, places like Thailand, even places like Colombia, places like Dominican Republic. Because of the fact that they have that steady, solid income coming in, they don't have to worry about where their next check is coming from. And therefore, they can comfortably move abroad, and they never have to deal with America or any of the women in it ever again. Not only that, but they also don't have to deal with the economics of America. You have to understand, let's say that you worked a job and you have a $30,000 pension that you're expecting to come in. Chances are, if you live in America, chances are you're probably in debt by the time you're about to retire. So that $30,000 pension isn't really going to go that far. However, you take that money and you move to many of these developing countries or even some of the developed countries that happen to have very low cost of living. That money can be stretched ridiculously far. I've showed you video of my condo in the Philippines. I've showed you video of what it was like in Thailand and the cost of living in Thailand. You can have a nice condo, just like the one I had. I have a video. It's called the Grass Residence. You can have 6 pools, mall nearby, grocery shopping, fresh grocery shopping. Not only that, you got your young Filipino wife there ready to cook for you, and you just buy the food and you bring it home. She's chopping it up and everything's good. I've showed you those pictures. I may have to make another video because I can't cover everything in every single video. The bottom line is I usually put this stuff in my community chat at any given time. So if you are subscribed, and I know I've got a lot of new subscribers, thanks for subscribing. I'm going to keep up the shit posting. I'm going to keep posting the dank memes, and I'm going to keep that content coming one way or another. I saw this story because I was looking to see if Passport Bros had made the news. This was an article written by The Fly Brother, Flybrother, as you can see, flybrother.net. And I figured I'd cover his article. Brothers and sisters, if you don't have one already, you need to get yourself a passport. If you do have one, it's time to use it. As a 35-year-old black man living in Florida, I can honestly say that now more than ever in my lifetime, I am mortally afraid of inadvertently pissing off some overeager, trigger-happy jackass with a gun who would then feel entirely justified in shooting me because he felt threatened and knew that he'd be absolved by a jury of his peers of any wrongdoing. No matter how many languages I speak, how many countries I've been to, how many degrees I have, how many classes I've taught, how many non-black friends I have, I am part of the same pariah class as you, demonized because of my skin color and feared because of my potential for violence as well as greatness. When I lived in China, and I lived in China back after 9/11 happened, this was 2001 through 2003. I was a student at Fudan University. There were two things that I never, ever worried about. There were two things that I never had to worry about. Number one, I never worried about being robbed if I happened to go to an ATM or have extra money on me at any point. Number one, because I'm a 6'6" tall black male, if you rob me, you'd have to have a weapon. Fisticuffs ain't going to work out too well for you because I will throw my body weight on your neck and I will snap your vertebrae. I know how to get it done, but that's just one thing. Second, in China, very few people have access to weapons. Very few people have access to guns. Now, they do have knife point robberies, but then the third reason why I wasn't ever worried about living in China was simply because the government in China doesn't tolerate a goddamn thing. If you commit a crime, especially you commit a crime against a foreigner, you're getting executed. None of this bullshit in America where you can be in Buffalo and shoot up a store full of black people and you can basically the worst you have to worry about is life in prison. No. The Chinese example of life in prison is you get a bullet in the back of the head. I appreciate the PRC government for that. When I go to these countries, I will never forget, I was in Dominican Republic. I had an iPhone 2011. I had the newest iPhone. I believe it was either a 4S or the iPhone 5, but I think it was probably the 4S in 2011. It was the newest iPhone. I was down in DR for my uncle's wedding. He was getting married. I happened to venture off because I wanted to see some of the city, right? So I took a cab and I left Lifestyle Tropical and we drove into the city, right? Now I'm standing on the corner getting ready to go back towards Lifestyle Tropical and two military police walk up to me. One of them is carrying an AK-47 and the other one is carrying a pump-action shotgun. And they just came and stood on either side of me, left and right. One was like a taller, dark-skinned Dominican dude. The other one was like a lighter-skinned, slightly shorter Dominican dude. And it occurred to me right away that the reason why they were standing there is because I was holding a brand new iPhone. And they were making sure that nobody dared attempt to pickpocket me. Just think about that. Somebody might try to come by, snatch my phone or something, punch me in the face and try to snatch my phone and run. But with these two cops there, if you tried that to a foreigner, you're getting a bullet in your back. And if it wasn't a bullet in your back, you're getting shotgun pellets all up in you for an iPhone. And somebody would try it because you know that in a lot of these countries, they have petty theft. They have purse snatching. Like somebody will come up, rip a woman's purse off and run. Somebody will come up, try to take your knapsack and run. This, that. No. The countries that I go to, they ain't playing that shit because they know that if you anger the tourists will take their money and go elsewhere. These countries are so stable because they understand that they don't want to lose that revenue from these tourists. So just what I said is just what it is. That's just what it is. And if you got a problem with that, you can address the State Department. I don't care. So anyway, as I was saying, the reason why I brought that up is because I never had to worry. Also, there was one thing I never had to worry about. One thing was petty crime happening to me. The other thing I didn't have to worry about is some racist cop or some wannabe fucking cop racist like George Zimmerman or somebody trying to follow me and racially profile me, thinking I'm trying to steal car parts, and I end up getting in a fight with him and he shoots me. First of all, that can't happen there because in most of those countries, the people themselves don't have guns. That's number one. You're not going to do racial profiling carrying around a knife because that really doesn't work out well either. But number two, the cops themselves in most of these countries don't have guns. When I was in China, the only cops you saw with guns were military police. There is nothing I could have done short of walking up and trying to fight and beat up a military cop that could have got me shot. I never felt safer in my life. Here in America, you know what I'm packed. You know I got the Desert Eagle 50 caliber. But then the question you should ask is, why do you need something like that? Well, you never know. You might blow your horn at somebody and the psychopath gets out of their car and runs up to your car and starts shooting just because they didn't like the fact you blew their horn at you. And if they do get caught by these pathetic police and these pathetic liberal laws, what's the worst that's going to happen to them? Life in prison? What? And then they might get off because these juries are so pussy now that they allow killers and murderers to get off now. Oh, well, he served some time. Oh, look at the Florida shooting in that school and look at that bastard that if this had been China, he'd have been dead already. Look what they did. This kid goes into a high school, kills all of these other kids, shooting at people randomly. Oh, but his brain is malformed. Oh, but he doesn't have all of his mental acuity. Fuck that shit. So anyway, China would have turned him into spare body parts, and after that, you'd have never heard of anything about that again. And nobody would dare do some shit like that because they'd get turned into spare parts too. So here in America, yeah, you got to worry about the shit. It's not just the racism, but then it's the legal avenue because sometimes it's not even race. Sometimes racism had nothing to do with it. Sometimes it's just lawyers who are determined to get you off, i.e. the Parkland shooting. That had nothing really, in my opinion, to do with racism. But he's getting life in prison. How much life are the rest of them getting? None. But if you were in China, you'd have been turned into body parts. I left the United States in 2005 running adventurously towards the unknown, but also running away from the miasma of inequality as I perceived it all those years ago. I returned this past Christmas and have felt like things have only gotten worse. No shit. Be it the barefaced happiness at George Zimmerman's acquittal, the unmitigated hatred for President Obama, the unyielding desire to use the ugliest racial slur in the English language because, quote, we say it all the time, the grotesquely ironic opinion that Black Americans are the most racist group in the country. I don't know how I don't know who brought that shit up. Like, who the fuck convinced people that blacks are the most racist? I don't know who did that one. That's hilarious. But anyway, the antagonizing law enforcement activities like stop and frisk and random secondary screening. And let me tell you something else about stop and frisk. Stop and frisk is unconstitutional. Any black person who got stopped and frisked right now should be suing fucking Bloomberg. They should bring up a lawsuit just to bring up a lawsuit. And if you don't do it, then you're just sitting and resting while that piece of shit is somewhere resting with his money. If I were you and I never got stopped and frisked. But if I were you and they stopped and frisked you and you have any level of record on that shit, I'd be suing that motherfucker right now. That's what you should be doing. Stop fucking complaining and put these people in their life. That's what you do. Anyway, where was I? Or inhumane disparities in prison sentencing, or the mass closing of public schools in the neediest neighborhoods. We are reminded incessantly of our lowly place in American society by society itself. And this is despite innumerable examples of how much we as Black Americans contribute positively to society, especially when allowed to flourish, and despite the efforts of scores of white Americans who recognize their privilege and do fight with us in destroying inequality. Yet, in 2013, ignorance and hatred remain as unfettered and ingrained in the American psyche as they were in 1913 and 1813 and 1713. For too many American citizens of a land which espouses freedom and liberty as the driving forces of its national ideology, it is unsafe to merely exist. That is what it's like to be a problem. Mind you, family, the United States isn't the only place black folks are catching hell. We are murdered or disappear in Brazil and Colombia and plenty of other places with mind-boggling frequency, often at the hands of local law enforcement. No place is utopia, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't look for it. We have options. There are places in this world where a presence isn't viewed as a menace, as a problem, or even as an inconvenience. There are places where we are welcome, listened to, appreciated, and even loved. These places can and do challenge us in ways we could have never imagined, but our very existence isn't challenged. We will have to do our part by being open to learning new concepts, new languages, new ways of thinking and being, by being permeable. We will have to strive to be just as understanding and accepting as we hope to be understood and accepted. In the end, the tangible investment in passport fees, airline tickets, and lodging expenses pay off in that they remove the yoke of low expectations. They can release us from the snares of a society that thinks it's got us all figured out. More importantly, these investments pay off in options. We must have the option to participate in our own society as full-fledged members or be part of the creation of a society that will not hinder us from personal greatness. But we alone have the power to create these options for ourselves. That responsibility, that choice belongs to no one but us. So basically, this brings up kind of what I've been talking about recently about anomie, A-N-O-M-I-E, the feeling that you are not part of society and therefore you end up not giving a fuck what happens to it. You end up withdrawing, you end up not voting, you end up not participating. Anomie is real. Not only are black men experiencing it, white men are too. This is the reason why you're seeing more and more of the violence in these schools with these younger audience participants. This is the reason why you're seeing more and more of them throwing everything away. This is the reason also you're seeing so many of these wealthy men deleting themselves because they feel their world has been taken from them. Some of them react homicidally. Some of them react suicidally. The Green Ranger comes to mind. It's like if I had Green Ranger money, like every time your kids turn on Power Rangers, I get a check. There's no fucking way in hell I'd have killed myself over some woman. Hells no. But this person thought that it was over. Now, he had Green Ranger money coming in. Then I think about, what's his name? What's that guy's name? What's his name? I never can remember this guy. He was the comedian from Bicentennial Man. What was that guy's name? And he was Mrs. Doubtfire. Hold on, I gotta look this up. What was this guy's name? Mrs. Doubtfire. What was that guy's name? It'll come. Wait. Robin Williams. Yes, Robin Williams. How many more of these lonely, depressed men? And these guys are rich. These guys are rich. These guys are filthy rich. How many more of them are we going to find hanging from a ceiling? From a ceiling fan, I should say. See, right now I'm looking up. I got my ceiling fan up there, and I'm looking at my ceiling fan, and I'm thankful that God gave me a ceiling fan. But some of these people out there thinking, they're looking at their ceiling fan thinking, how do I hang myself from that because I hate the world myself? So what I'm saying is anomie is real. It's affecting black men. It's affecting white men. They feel that their world's been taken from them, that they're being replaced, that nobody cares. But gentlemen, if you hear the sound of my voice, instead of loading up that AR-15, what you should be doing is getting your passport. You don't have to tolerate this shit here. Get that money together, get your passport, and go out and see the part of the world that you always wanted to see. And you never know, it just might change everything for you. But I do tell you this, America is a toxic environment. It is an absolute toxic environment. In the movie Aliens, the only solution would have been to take off and nuke it from orbit just to be sure. This is a toxic environment. It creates toxic children. It creates toxic adults. It creates toxic women. It creates toxic men. It creates toxic government officials. It creates toxic police. And you get my point. You need to see something different, and you may even need to remove yourself from this equation entirely. Believe me, I got 10 more years of this fucking bullshit left to do, and I'm out of here. I'm going to rent out I'm going to have another, when my parents die, I'm going to have another 2 houses to add to the 2 I already got. I'm going to have another 2 properties. I'm going to rent all that shit out. I'm getting the fuck out of here. All y'all got to do is sign that ACH withdrawal, which gives me my rent money every single month. I'm getting the fuck out of here. Fuck this. Because in 10 years, this place is going to be... You think it's bad now. You think it's bad now? You don't look as far as I'm looking. You got 2 generations that ain't worth a shit coming up. They're going to pick your bones off of you. They're going to pick your bones. I'm getting the fuck out of here. My passport is fired up. I've got a multiple entry visa to China. I've got a multiple entry visa to Thailand. I haven't gotten one in the Philippines, but I can. I will. I might actually make a video about starting a business in the Philippines. I might actually do a video about that, because I did explain to you how to do the K1 visa process. I might make another video to explain how to build a business in a foreign country, like specifically the Philippines, right? I might do a video like that. Thailand, especially right now. In fact, I did a video already showing you how Thailand expects, if you want to come there and you want to live there as a permanent resident or you want to open up a business. I did a video already, a couple of videos back, showing what the requirements are. So I might have to make a video like that again, because I can keep I can keep talking. I can keep coming up with this stuff. And I think I might do that. I might do that. Once you have your passport, if you decide to leave permanently, do not feel like you've abandoned anything. No, no, no. This place abandoned you. You didn't abandon it. It abandoned you. It abandoned your values. It abandoned your morals. It abandoned everything you knew to be right and good. And it turned a corner and said, you know what, we're gonna make this place as fucked up as we possibly can. It abandoned you. You didn't abandon it. It abandoned you. So you are merely following in the footsteps of our heroes. And he goes on with a couple of names. I'm going to leave the link to this so you can read it yourself. If you do return, you will do so in the spirit of Zora Hurston and Malcolm X and Langston Hughes and Catherine Dunham. Eyes open, mentally unchained, and better equipped to withstand the renewed assault on your spirit once repatriated. Let me tell you something. Everything this brother is saying, let me tell you something. When I was in China and I had to say goodbye to my Chinese girlfriend to come back here, in my entire life, I had never been that sick to my stomach when I thought about the fact I gotta fucking come back here. That ultimately in and of itself is the worst part about traveling, because eventually you gotta come back. If we could somehow live abroad and just have money coming to us and all you got to do is just live abroad and that's it, that's heaven on earth. The only people who really get to do that, though, are the retirees. The expatriate retirees are the ones who get to live like that, where they don't have to worry about anything. There's just a paycheck in the mail. They've already worked. They've already invested. All of their royalties, whatever they owned in America, is paying them from here. People ask me that shit all the time. They're like, oh, well, if it's so great abroad, why don't you leave? I would leave, but I fucking need more money to leave. And I need to leave permanently, live my lifestyle the way I want to, and not have to worry about the income. If I go to a foreign country, I'm not going to work there. Chances are, even if I applied for work and all that stuff, I probably wouldn't find what I want to be a worker there. But if I go to a foreign country, I'm not working there. This is a permanent vacation till I die. It's just that simple. Expatriates and retirees have their pensions, and that gives them exactly what I'm talking about. A passport isn't the antidote to financial woes or family drama or failing schools or racial profiling, but it is a door opener, an exit, a way out, an escape to the boundless existence, the boundless life that we deserve as human beings. A passport allows us to choose our reality, be it here or abroad. I've lived abroad enough to know that I want to live abroad more. The only downside, again, is the pay. I don't want to have to go to another country and look for jobs. I don't want to do that. So I'm putting together the seeds now. I've taught you about building dividend-paying portfolios. I've explained to you a couple of times about buying real estate before real estate went crazy because of the Federal Reserve. Those things create passive income in the future. And that's it. People can say whatever they want about me. Oh, yeah, well, you just going overseas so you can get a maid. Oh, you just going overseas so you can get a servant. Oh, you just going over your shame, blame, and explain to me. They can say whatever they want. Oh, you just going overseas so you can get an employee. You can't handle a strong woman. You can't handle no strong black woman. And they're breathing hard, and they got that nose ring in their nose that looks so disgusting. It's got boogers and snot in that ring. Boogers and snot. Boogers and snot dripping down that ring. That's all I can think about when I'm looking in the face. I see that septum ring. You got boogers and snot. Not even that thin snot. You got that thick, yellowish tint, thick snot in your nose. Hair ain't real. The countries I go to, man, them women got that silky black hair. When it falls on you, it feels like a pillow fell on you. It feels like silk pillows. They got the septum ring over here with the boogers and snot, fake hair, raptor claw nails, can't even type properly on their phone because they got these big-ass nails like they a velociraptor, like they're a Utah raptor, like they T-Rex himself, the T-Rex. It's like, this place is done. This place is done. I feel so bad. I look at the young males in my family, young babies, like they 2-3 years old. And I'm like, man, I feel bad for you, man. Because you have no idea of all the bullshit you're going to go through here. You have no idea. You have no idea. And it used to be, I think that about just the black males. But now I think that about the white ones too. I look at the white males, I'm like, man, you have no idea when you grow up the shit that this place is going to put you through. You have no idea. But there is hope. And that hope lies in you see this right here, this passport? That right there is your only way out. It's your only way. You got to do it quick. You got to set yourself up so that you got that income coming in and that you can go live wherever you want to live. I don't know. Some of you may want to live in Europe. I showed you a couple of weeks ago. Sardinia is willing to help you. Oh, yeah, we'll give you $15,000 to help invest in property in Sardinia. Nobody wants to live in fucking Sardinia. The point is, a lot of these countries are dying, and they're looking for anybody they can get to move there to keep that place up. I did this story. I have to redo the story because of copyright infringements or whatever. I'm going to redo the story about how California is giving black women welfare checks. I did the story yesterday, and you probably noticed I had to delete it, but I'm going to repost it. I just have to change it a little. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually post part of that story in this video, and then I'm going to redo that story by itself. But man, you know what it is, guys. You know what it is. This place is a mess, and it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. They're telling you right now that this recession hasn't even begun yet. Now, I've been saying it began years ago. They're saying, oh, no, next year, 2023, we're fucked. I was like, no. We've been fucked since like 2001. It's like, who are you kidding? But bottom line is, you got to work. You got to work smart. You got to save some money. And you got to make sure that when the lights go out here, that you are ready. That you are ready to get your stuff together and you're ready to go to greener pastures. It's not that easy. I mean, some people don't want to have to be a landlord. Some people don't want to have one of their family members taking care of their properties here and shit. Some people don't want to deal with that shit. I mean, there's always a possibility. I could just fucking sell everything and just leave. But I just don't know yet. Honestly, I just be perfectly honest. I don't know yet because the reality is my chick, she doesn't mind living in her country because the thing about it is she gets to be close to her family. My problem is my family's here. So if I want to be close to my family, I either have to take them business class flights for fucking $3,000 cross country or, just chat with them on Zoom. And that really gets boring. I don't really like chatting. I don't like talking on Zoom. I really don't. But that's just what it is, man. So this was the story by flybrother.net. And I'll give you the link to it. You can pretty much probably find it yourself, but I'll give you the link to it. I think he had a video clip in here. I didn't look at that video. No, he didn't. So yeah, I will give you the link. You can look at it yourself. You know, it's funny. In one of my last videos, there was some commenter who commented to me telling me, stay in your lane. You're not Bryant Gumbel. Because apparently they were butthurt by something that I said when I was presenting news stories. This story right here just came across. It says San Francisco guaranteed income program for pregnant black women to expand across California. And I find that really interesting because my question is, well, what about white women? What about Hispanic women? How could you put something like this through, say that it's only for black women, and then not be accused of either discrimination or, what is it called, affirmative action discrimination or whatnot? So let's read the story. A guaranteed income program that provides monthly checks to black pregnant women in San Francisco will expand to other counties in California. The Abundant Birth Project, ABP, began in June 2021 to serve pregnant women with $1,000 monthly payments over 12 months to 150 people. The program is intended to reduce the racial birth disparities by easing economic stress. So what we're going to do is we're going to cause more economic stress by printing money that we don't have. And this way we can just expand inflation so that whatever that money we give you is, it just won't be enough because now your local economy is going to adapt to these welfare checks that we're printing. On Tuesday, San Francisco's Department of Public Health announced a $5 million grant in state funding to expand the program in Alameda, Los Angeles, and Riverside counties for the next 2 or 3 years. I like this story that just pops up right there in the middle. It says, concerns escalate over San Francisco's rising crime hurting business. Well, maybe you wouldn't have so much rising crime if you weren't subsidizing single mothers, because nobody's going to tell me that this isn't something that's going only to single mothers. If these women had husbands who are helping them with these kids, they wouldn't be looking for $1,000 handouts. And when I said husbands, I meant husbands, not baby daddies, not boyfriends, not live-in boos, or how the fuck you pronounce it, B-E-A bullshit. But my beau, my boo, my bae. I don't even know how to pronounce that shit. Because that's what people say when they can't say, yeah, I'm married. So yeah, it's easy for me to pronounce the word husband. It's easy for me to pronounce the word fiance. I don't know how to pronounce bae or boo or bee or ba. I don't know how to pronounce that bullshit. So anyway, it will serve another 425 mothers and other birthing parents with funds from the California Department of Welfare. I'm not going to call, I swear, I'm not going to call it. So I'm not going to play your fucking games, okay? I'm calling it the Department of Welfare. This guaranteed income this welfare program helps ease some of the financial burdens that all too often keep mothers from being able to prioritize their own health and ultimately impact the health of their babies and family. San Francisco Mayor London Breed said in a statement, "We hope the Abundant Birth Welfare Project serves as a model to address racial birth disparities throughout the region and state and across the country." If you want to address racial birth disparities, I'll give you some real hints. First of all, you need marriage before carriage. Second of all, you need a husband who's also bringing home a paycheck. And you also need not divorce. So it's 3 things. It's really simple. I'm going to give you just 3 clues for stupid people who don't understand and they just wait next to the mailbox for their next welfare check. Let me give you 3 pointers. Number 1, don't have children before you're married. Number 2, marry somebody who has a job, who brings home a paycheck. Number 3, stay married. Don't get divorced. because when you get divorced, it causes financial instability, at which point all you can do is whine about how racism has got you down. San Francisco launched the first abundant birth welfare in partnership with Expecting Justice, which advocates for safe births for Black, Asian American, and Pacific Islander women. What do you mean safe? Huh? What do you mean safe? Safe births? Maybe these people don't seem to understand the reason why they have escalating costs is because their welfare state continues to expand faster than they can keep up with it. You see, by printing all this goddamn welfare checks during the COVID pandemic, look what you did. You basically caused rampant inflation. The Federal Reserve responded to that rampant inflation by raising interest rates. There's a very clear relationship between interest rates and inflation. When you make interest rates low, that makes it easier for people to borrow credit and to borrow on margin. So what ends up happening is the demand rises and supply drops. When you raise interest rates, demand drops and supply increases. That is the reason why, with all these welfare checks floating around in the system, it became damn near impossible for people to find things that they actually needed, like baby formula. And I know what some people are going to say. They're going to say, oh, yeah, well, the baby formula shortage was caused by a bacterial outbreak in the factories that pretty much make baby formula here in the country. The reality is that your supply decreased extremely quickly because the demand was so high. Because here you are giving people EBT cards, you're giving people different forms of welfare, and then you're telling them that there's a shortage on something. So what do? They run out and they just start buying it up as quickly as they can. So no matter what was coming out of the factory, it still wasn't going to be enough for that time. Now, fortunately, that seems to have been turned around because they've been able to get things back and rolling. But then that asks the question, why is it that you're only producing stuff in one place? You need to be producing it in at least a couple of different parts of the country, at least maybe 3 or 4. Baby formula being something that's pretty much mandatory. We have to have it. All right. So it says the city noted that Black women are twice as likely to have a preterm birth than white women and experience the highest infant and maternal mortality rates because of wealth and income disparities. I don't think it's because of wealth and income disparities. I think it's because you've grown a welfare state that you can't support. California, always crying about bankruptcy. Every time I turn on the news, California is burning down. There's always like fires and shit there. And then, we don't have enough water. And I'm like, wait a minute, how the fuck don't you have enough water? You live next to the ocean. What's going on? Oh, but when you really dig deep, you realize that the liberal policies that they've adapted are choking them to death. It's so bad in parts of California until you can't even walk into a Walgreens without having to step over a knocked out junkie who just took a shit on himself in front of the store. Tell me I'm lying, or go on YouTube and type up California 10 cities and see for yourself. That was the story. So for so long, Black women have been excluded from the resources needed to have safe and healthy pregnancies. This funding will provide pregnant people with economic stability during this critical phase in their lives, while allowing public health institutions to test a novel and promising public health intervention. Yeah, I've got a great idea. Let's give out welfare checks to everybody and see if that makes their kids better off. It's like, really? San Francisco recently launched another guaranteed income. Now they're guaranteeing income. Think about that for a second. Income, from what I learned in capitalism, is based on supply and demand. So how are you guaranteeing income without having to satisfy supply and demand factors? Can you tell me that? Here we go. For transgender residents, the program will provide low-income transgender residents with payments of up to $1,200 each month. Whoa. So wait a minute. The pregnant Black women only get $1,000, but the trans peoples, they get $1,200? Huh? So what you're telling me is that instead of me being a pregnant black woman, what I should be is a trans person. Is that what you're telling me? How come you get $200 more? You see, it's really easy for you to toss around people's money when it's not your own money. It's very easy. And that's the problem with the welfare state. It's very, very, very simple to just arbitrarily come up with these numbers. First of all, the living expenses in California are so ridiculously high at this point that an extra $1,000 or $1,200 is not even going to make that big a difference. Factor in the local inflation that it's going to cause, and it's going to make that much less of a difference. However, I would imagine that some people should be reading this and probably upset because, wait a minute, it seems that you're discriminating based on gender and sexuality and race. It seems to me that if I'm a pregnant black woman, I should be getting the same $1,200 as Tu Wong Fu over here. All right. Is that it? Yeah, okay, so that's it. So that's the story right here. You can tell me what you think, because I just think this is just ridiculous. But this country, let me tell you something, and I've said this a million times. This country is going to drown in welfare, and it's going to drown in its own bullshit. I have 10 years left to go, and I'm going to retire. I'm going to take my money. I'm going to rent out my properties, and I'm going to move out of this place. I'm going to move as far overseas as possible. I'm going to be the ultimate passport bro, the expat. The expat is the ultimate pay. See, the thing about it is there's almost varying levels of passport bros. From what I'm seeing, we have passport pookies and Ray Rays. They're the ones who you see flying back and forth to these countries just so that they can get sex tourism. Mind you that there's also women who do the exact same thing. They usually fly to countries in the Caribbean or possibly to Africa, and they do the exact same thing. They're preying on poor, I guess you could say black African, black Caribbean men. So we have the passport pookies and Ray Rays. That's number one. Then you have a step up. You have the passport bros. We are not the same as the passport pookies and Ray Rays. The passport bros, middle income to high income earning men who decide that what they're going to do is they're going to go overseas and that they're going to find themselves the love of their life, a wife, in order to possibly bring her back so that he can enrich her life and enrich his. And the only reason why a passport bro brings a woman back here is because his infrastructure, his money, his investments are all here. The highest level of passport bro is actually the expatriate. The expatriate moves out of this country, spends the majority of time per year outside of this country. He moves abroad, moves far overseas. So not only does he get his wife, his foreign wife, he has his family over there. And at any given time, if they want, they can come back to America because his children get birthright citizenship through the father. And his wife can file for, what is it called, a spousal adjustment visa, which would allow her to come here with him if necessary, or if they just want to travel for whatever reason. The expatriate's usually retired. The expatriate is usually drawing a pension. That is kind of where I think I want to be 10 years from now, because this place is going down the tube so fast until, God help them, Between the rise in crime that they're mentioning right here, the San Francisco rise in crime. I mean, it was actually a story that they built right into this story. It's like, what is there to look forward to here? What really is there to look forward to? You're going to get eaten alive by inflation over the next 25 to 30 years. On top of that, housing instability is going to continue to be a thing because now you have millennials, Generation Z, and the new Generation Alpha. They're all going to be basically competing for homes while the silent generation has died out, and then you have the boomers dying out. But it won't happen fast enough between those three groups. It won't happen fast enough between the millennials, Generation Z, and Generation Alpha. So for the most part, you're going to have these three groups at each other's throats. Not to mention that with America currently cutting ties with China and Russia in many instances, you're going to have severe issues with manufacturing because the majority of these kids can't do anything. I mean, they're so undisciplined, they can't even join the military. The military complains and says that these kids are undisciplined. We don't even know what to do with them. Undisciplined, unhealthy. The military was literally complaining that these kids' bones are too soft. The military put a report out that said their skeletons are too soft because they haven't done any, they haven't exercised, they haven't done anything. So, you know what? This place is sinking. That's what it is. This place is sinking, and welfare seems to be the only thing that you got going. But my question is, how long can you keep it up? How many foreign countries are investing the amount of money that are going to allow these people here in America to live the quality of life that their own productivity does not justify? That's my question.
We know why you're leaving. We don't care. To be quite honest, you taken an awful long time to leave and go find your happiness with your feminine women. Why don't you save yourself some time, skip the tantrum, stop stomping your feet, stop dragging your feet, and go.
Low-value woman. The 4 signs of a low-value woman. First one, she operates a lot in shame. What is shame? Shame, noun, a painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by consciousness wrong or foolish behavior. A low-value woman uses these 4 things to control, manipulate, dominate, get her way, check people, whatever you want to start off. And her first thing is shame. Taking case in point, let's say some of the things when women come to my channel, here's a shaming tactic. They use shaming tactics. Your mama black. You hate women. Shaming tactics. Shame, shame, shame. Shame is one of the 4 major arrows of a low-value woman. It's part of a low-value woman's pathology. You cross the board. I don't care what you have on paper. When women operate in these areas, they diminish their value to low. Because if you really have a good argument, you should not have to shame somebody. Shaming is just a way to get control of the conversation.
To be continued.